than goats. Man, they are competitive. Yes, I say this because I know of the cows that I've just mentioned, the smaller ones, and I've seen you want to like this guy.
What's going on? Jimmy, 2024 is coming to an end.
Yes,
right?
it is.
It's the 9th of December. We have seen many things happening in the country. Politically, economically, there's a lot that's going on. We've seen sensitization of our citizenry and, the engagement of the citizens, the engagement in governance by the people. How would you sum it up? From your observation, what 2024 has been like so far?
Let me put it in a nutshell. The compass on Kenyan life and Kenyan politics completely changed with the economic revolution and the riots and the demonstrations done by Gen Z June this year. The pendulum has completely shifted. Completely shifted. And if anybody wants to ignore it, they ignore it at their own peril. Kenyan politics, Kenyan life has been redefined this year. And it is primarily because of the economic revolution. And on that score, I would like to not forget our heroes, because 60 people died. 60 people, CT, were killed by what Kenya National Human Rights Commission says, aggression of the police. And it's important to understand these were young Kenyans, young heroes. I'm going to mention 10 today, and every time I appear, I'm going to keep mentioning those 10. Another 10, until we reach 60. Because we cannot forget them. Brian Lemayen Kasain of Narok. Austin Makoha Onyasi of Nakuru. Mike Kihunga Nyaguthi of Nakuru. Kelvin Madanga of Nakuru. Kennedy Onyango of Rongai. Anthony Kamau of Rongai. Rex Kanyika Masai. Matthew Joroge. These were both city mortuary found. Kevin Mawasi, city mortuary. Beasley Kogi, city mortuary. David Chege, city mortuary. Those are 11. These are names we cannot forget. They died for the economic revolution that Kenyans are seeking. The revolution is on. It is still on. It has not ended and will not end. The one thing that is very clear with the three famous words that Kenyans have clouted this year is Ruto must go. Those words are etched in everybody's mind. Ruto must go.
When you say things changed, what are they now? How would you define what is clearly a difference between December 2024 and December 2023?
Right now, there is more hope in bringing down a regime. I remember when I talked here late last year, there was a follow-up of a discussion I think I had in Mombasa, where it said the economic pains of this country are going to cause a revolt in Kenya. I talked it, in fact, in January and February of this year. And many people were asking me, how is it going to happen? Are you sure it's going to happen? I said, there's no doubt about it. Kenyans are a people who always rise up to the occasion. And it doesn't need to be instigated by anybody. It will come from their hearts. It will come from their minds. It will come from their spirit. We are a country of firsts. And I kept trying to remind people that even when we had been dominated by the colonial regime of the British, CT, if you didn't know, the British had an empire. They had conquered 500 million people. The only place they found a revolt for land and freedom was in Kenya, where we stood up an armed revolt against them. Kenya is that. Our people, our spirit is that. So things have changed. Today, what you call mene mene tekel has happened. Nobody cares what a parliamentarian speaks. They were cancelled. Who cares about them? People will listen to somebody on social media a lot more than somebody in government, either the executive or in parliament, because that represents more their voice than those people that were so-called elected. Today, the president is ashamed to meet people, to face people, cannot face people. You imagine that you have the whole Christian fraternity and the Muslims call a president a liar. His mouth has been taken away. William Samoei Ruto had 4 pillars to his regime. One was the church. The second were the people and parliamentarians. The third, I can assure you, was he had a narrative that he could market to people. He had a narrative. And the fourth was he had a lady called Meg Whitman, who decided she's going to fly his flag no matter how high. Those 4 pillars have gone. Parliament was cancelled. The people that were so-called with him, right? I can assure you that more than half of the vote that he got is out. His mouth has been taken away. His tongue taken away. His narrative taken away. He's called a liar. A head of state being called a liar by those who are the vanguards of our ethics, called the church. He has nothing more to offer. Nothing more. Kenyans have given up on the man. He is no light. There's no future in this man and his regime. And in fact, every day that we sit back, let us accept there's no hope as long as he's sitting there. None at all. And in fact, the Kenyans have been quiet for 2 months. The Kenyans have been listening to only want one thing: how do we get him out before the term? This is not even about 2027 or Sijui 2027. People are asking, how do we get him out before the term?
Is it William Ruto or is it the current class of political leaders?
William Ruto and whatever he represents.
Well, he doesn't represent opposition politics.
No.
Do you think the people that you've been listening to for the last 2 months, are they happy with the political leadership, whether it's in Kenya Kwanza, in Azimio, or elsewhere?
No. I think Kenyans are fed up of the political class that they see today.
Why?
They believe they do not represent their interests, they represent their own personal interests. The politics of self is what Mwananchi believes is driving our so-called political elite. The politics of self. And unfortunately, they are not wrong. This system, as I argued last time I was here, was embedded over 100 years ago. And this system was embedded by the colonialists, where you created tribal chieftains, divide and rule. And these chieftains meant that if you come to the table, then your tribe is represented. I sit on the table as a Kikuyu, but now Kikuyus are eating. But it's just Jim who is eating. Okay? This is nonsense. I read you a list of the people, some of the people who died during Gen Z. Which one tribe is there? It is everybody. It is every community that has suffered, that is feeling the pain of these chieftains sitting at the table, saying they represent one tribe or another. This is pathetic politics that the Mzungu brought in, that our forefathers, from Jomo Kenyatta to Moi, to Uhuru Kenyatta, and now to William Ruto, represent. He can talk all he wants about he's not a tribalist, but we all see the amount of people he's employing from his community into the civil service.
We left out Kibaki.
Kibaki did not believe in that demagoguery. Kibaki, although he got in on the basis of Wagogo from different areas coming to support him, I do not believe that was his calling. He had a different ethos, an ethos of meritocracy. And he tried to shake that off He didn't succeed. He didn't, but he tried to shake it off.
He was actually accused of entrenching it. There are those who would argue today that look at Mwai Kibaki. Yeah, he did the roads. He brought a bit of power. But he entrenched.
It was politics. You know, the politics of 2007 were very dangerous. They were climaxed in 2005, where the push for a referendum brought out saying, yes, the economy is getting better, but it's only one community benefiting. And you branded a 41 against 1 on the basis primarily because of an MOU that was not honored. An MOU that was not fully honored according to what had been agreed. That was the basis. But that MOU did not bring more of Kibaki's tribe to the table. It just brought different players. Not the players from one party or another. Like you brought in Anyang' Nyong'o, who was not representative of LDP. He came from SDP. You brought him a different Masai to Intimama. Right? But he didn't really bring in tribes. But it was the politics. And I think if there's anything that we should learn, the 41 against 1 that was created in 2007 must never be rekindled again. It's unfortunate politics. Because at the end of the day, we all want the same thing.
But you see, that is the same thing that some are saying is happening now. There are those who are shouting from the rooftops that anything that is mentioned that appears to be, even in the slightest, against the president is tribal, and that it is because of the community he comes from. And then when you throw in, is it a rallying call? Is it a clarion call that Ruto must go? See, it's like we've gone and heaped every ill that this country has suffered on one person. And that is not a true representation of the problems that we have. Because if you start by simply saying that governments are a continuum, Moi inherited something from Kenyatta, Kibaki, and so forth, and so forth, and so forth. Can we tease out and say the things that we can point and put at the feet of this person are this and this and this, but everything else, because to do that is like we're saying, the judiciary doesn't function, the three arms of government don't function. Parliament doesn't function, the judiciary doesn't function, and the sovereign, more than anything else, don't function at all. Because if that is the case, then this one person is responsible for all our problems, and indeed he must go. But that is not the case, is it?
I agree with you entirely, Siti. And I think if you recall, when I was last here, we talked about a system we inherited at independent Kenya. That was not ours. Remember, we didn't define ourselves as tribes. Somebody came and told us what tribe we belong to. Somebody even called us Nilots and Bantu. Somebody came here and put a system in 1897 with a company called Royal British East India Company. Went on in 1902 to call it Imperial British East Africa Company. And when Kenya became a colony, that company that came to extract and exploit our country and dominate us became the civil service, became the system. Okay, this is reality. How different is it today? It became the civil service. Their watchmen became the policemen. Today, when you go and talk to a policeman at a government office, okay, doesn't he treat you like a watchman? Unataka nini? You are the taxpayer. That is your public office. And he's asking you what you want, because the most important people are the ones who are inside there, not you. Right? That's no different to a watchman. Right? This is what happened. We have never changed this system. Okay? Because it has also worked for those who have so-called inherited power, gotten power. They perpetuated it because it has this thing of the Wagogo. Right? But it exploits us. It extracts from us. How different is this government? The one thing William Ruto came in and he said, this is a time for the hustler, not the dynasty. This is a time that he is going to bring the people to the table, not the Wagogo.
So Jimmy,
okay, and what happened? And what happened? Because it was in a sense a revolution of that order, right?
And people resonated with it.
And people believed it. They believed it. They believed it. 2 years down the line, I think let's be sincere. He's been unable to do it.
They're trying to put the smoke in a can, and the smoke is not getting in there. It just keeps.
It is not. The man is a total failure. Okay, he's a total failure. So City, he's a perpetuation of it. In fact, he's entrenching it even more.
You see, my point, Jimmy, was this. He represents something that has been wrong for a very long time. And because of our history, the spotlights are now on him with greater scrutiny than probably any other president this country has received. Now, that is a good thing.
It's a fantastic thing.
Because it means that we are awake.
Yes.
And I credit him with that awakening. This is my point exactly. In the absence of that, his style of ruling, we would not be where we are in terms of our thinking, in terms of our evolution, in terms of how we look at life.
So his failure has been to our success.
But I think I would argue that his failure was primarily our failure, and part of the reason why people are angry is because we see the mistakes we made, and in true Kenyan style, we must find someone to blame for it.
True.
That is my view.
Is it his failure then or his success?
You see, there's the word inadvertent, okay?
That's a good one. True.
It bears very, 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 very good meaning in this particular circumstance. Why do I say that? You know how it is, you look back and you wonder, how did we get here? And certain occurrences that took place and nobody could have foreseen that they would lead to exactly where we are. This is a person with his group, they were going about the business they had set out to do. They had a narrative they had sold. Unfortunately, at a very early age, there was an incongruence between what was being said and what was being done. But the narrative kept continuing. And the schism kept increasing. It got to a point people say, but wait, there's a disconnect here. In fact, this is not even a disconnect. This is a valley, and it's growing. Now, I credit those occurrences to our awakening. And that's why I use the word inadvertent.
We may be in the Sinai moment here.
Okay.
The people of Israel believed what Moses was telling them. Let's move out of here. This is slavery. We work for the house of the Pharaoh. We need to get out. And God has told us we can move to our own land and freedom and milk and honey. And then you go into the wilderness. And not because Moses has done whatever Moses has done. It's because the people have done what the people have done that God decides circle around you for 40 years like this. Right? Who do they turn against? Moses. But you see, they're looking back and saying, this is the hope that we have. And you embolden, you are actually the embodiment of the hope.
Yes.
And because we are not in Canaan yet,
it's your fault.
It is your fault. The people do not want to accept that it's because of their fault that they are not yet in Canaan. They look at their leader, that's the reason they are not in Canaan. Maybe it's the same kind of thing that we are saying here. As we say Ruto must go, is the same thing that those guys were saying, Moses must go.
No, Eric.
But we're in the wilderness.
Eric,
we're heading towards Canaan.
Let me cut you there. Because really, to compare Ruto to Moses, I think really is blasphemy.
No, I'm comparing you
to... sincerity,
I'm comparing you to the Israelites. Watch out, Moses.
No.
It is you, Kenyans.
No. To try and epitomize Ruto to Moses is blasphemy. Honestly.
Is it?
Please, absolutely. Absolutely. Moses did never began on the premise of a lie. Never. His whole path was to lead the people to Canaan. And he walked the path. Even God helped him part the Red Sea. He did. But to you to sit back to equate that to William Samoei Ruto, I think
then what happened?
No, the analogy here.
All right?
Then what happened?
So in Sinai, yes, they went round and round. And I like to look at it this way. Look at it in terms of milestones in our own lives.
Yes.
We have been through our first liberation, which was political. All right? If you take it to modern context, we have been through what you call our political liberation. This is what is giving us this platform under which we feel so free to talk to power, challenge authority. All right? Go and vote, voice our opinions, get out there and demonstrate. Even though we are being shot at, we do so. That period has taken a good part of 50 to 60 years.
Yes.
Both our first liberation, our second liberation. All right? That is the context under which we have been in Sinai, because we went through our political liberation. We're now going through what you call economic liberation. Our lives, our standards of living, right? This is now our true journey to Canaan. Because Canaan was about fruit for everybody, plentiful, right? Land of plenty. This is where we are going. We're not in Sinai.
And independent.
We are on our path. We are on our path. And this is a joyful path, actually. All right?
Yes.
And what is happening is that those who misled us, right? Those who misled us, that even our political liberation will lead to our economic liberation, are now being forced to fall apart. They're all leaving. Yeah? Fagia water is now in place. Right? It is truly coming. Right? We are tired of this nonsense. Okay? Talk real issues that are about our stomach and our future and our generations to come. Right? Fagia water is in place. And the joy that is coming is phenomenal. Phenomenal. So, Eric.
So we should focus on the journey.
Yes.
Not on Moses.
Not on Moses.
Not on the tablets.
No.
Not on creating our own gods.
The Joshuas are being born every day. Right. I've given you a list of those who have laid their lives for this path. We're not in Sinai.
No.
We are on our journey now.
But
on our journey
we are in
to
Sinai on
Canaan.
our journey. Let's take a break. 23 minutes to 9. Jimmy Wanjigi is our guest this morning. What are you again in Safina? You're a member of Safina.
I'm a member of Safina.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we keep saying that and reminding everybody that. So Jimmy is one of the people who very well know what we are going to talk about next, which is flying business with Emirates. 140 destinations out of JKIA. And what do you get? The live flat bed. How is that bed, Jimmy? The Emirates business live flat. I mean, you go to the other businesses.
Let me be sincere.
Yeah.
And I'm not being unpatriotic to Kenya Airways. Emirates is a joy to fly on. It is a true joy to fly on. That I will not lie to you. I think, as far as I'm concerned, it is the best airline I like flying on. Yes. And I'm not being unpatriotic. Kenya Airways one day will get there.
They will.
I hope it gets there. I pray we shall work to make sure it gets there. As of now, that's the best. That's the best plane. I enjoy that flight every time.
You know,
I'm on
City keeps telling us
it
a
is
couple
my
of things.
point of choice.
City tells us when you there's the lounge before you even get the plane. There's a lounge, world class lounge. True?
Absolutely.
Okay. He also tells us that there is the limo service when you're getting.
Oh yes.
He also tells us that there is when you're flying long distance, you lie flat.
Oh, absolutely.
And he also tells us about the gourmet cuisine.
Oh, I thought you were going to miss out on that.
No.
You've never seen cuisine like that.
And you're given pajamas.
Oh yeah, and a pillow and a duvet.
Yes. Let's take this break. We'll be back shortly. 20 minutes to 9.
Baadaye auntie.
Mkuu, umetufikisha home poa. Asante. Pia wewe pata kakitu ikufikishe home.
Nunua any 280-gram Cadbury Dairy Milk Packs ama Cadbury Drinking Chocolate. Visit cadbury.africa uandikie someone special your heartfelt message ya kumshow thanks. T's and C's apply. Cadbury, there's a glass and a half in everyone.
Well, indeed, welcome.
As young people say, ni ile siku. Because they're talking about snails.
Farm Kenya is your ultimate guide to everything agriculture. Every Monday, get your fill of Agri-New, panel discussions on policy and regulation, and how to feature on Farm Guide. Tuesdays are all about nutrition and health, plus our popular Farm to Plate segment, bringing you delicious recipes straight from the farm, as we give voice to farmers on Sauti ya Mkulima. Farm Kenya, working to secure your growth.
Big anapenda kuzitoka. TikTok anakwanga TikToka. Big Bock anapenda stick proper.
Goda tena kwanza tumasingoni
Inatuteta.
Get ready for mind-blowing remixes and intimate interviews with the maestros behind the music.
Ati black chocolate and fine melanin.
Tukona iwake. Si ati nini wande. Taniwa.
Immerse yourself in the electrifying realm where DJ battles invite the collision of beats and creativity.
Anataka dhatu, nasikia kubibi girl, anataka tutukafu. Anapenda mukuchu, anapenda cash. Why you partying alone?
Eti tulienda wapi si tuko Jibagajat. Tulienda wapi si tuko Jibagajat.
Spring and me thank you over. At your back, baby.
Inatuteta. Ninagana mwa anamba nala. Kutade. Inatuteta. Ninagana mwa anamba nala.
Every Saturday morning, Club Kiboko will get you excited enough to jump right out of your bed.
Ain't like you to hold back and drop it.
It is a very fun-filled show that not only entertains you, but educates you as well.
How to know that somebody is about to faint? They may say something like, I am dizzy.
Not forgetting My School segment where we visit your school and feature their amazing performances.
This is Club Kiboko.
Economically in this country, voices, alternative voices. Jimmy Wanjigi has been one of those, and he's our guest. Jimmy, let me tell you, Sarit Center is not far from your office. Everybody knows where your office is, right? Mm-hmm. And Sarit is not far. Sarit, your city. So Sarit, your city has Africa's first ever light the world giving machines. Have you heard of it?
No.
So this is a machine that looks like, those vending machines. Mm-hmm. The ones where you go, you buy chocolate, you put a coin, chocolate or soda or, crisps, right? So this particular one is similar, but they are working with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and others like, other NGOs to say that this is how we are going to give during this festive season. So you go there and the vending machine has, lunch, it has a goat, it has all these things. So you select. And if you select, for example, a goat or chicken or a meal or food or fees or something like that, when you select, it tells you how much it's going to cost. You pay for it. Then that item drops. And whichever NGO is the one that's dealing with that, whether it's meals, whether it's medical support, whether it's goat for Christmas, whether it's clothes, they are going then to take that item to a beneficiary community in January. So this is running. Are they on? Second floor. Now in Sarit Center, Sarit, your city, second floor. Just
very nice.
Right?
Very nice.
Yep. So
noble idea.
One of these days, they can't do anything. They can't do anything to you when you're in Sarit City. So, walk to Sarit your city. Right? So go select one of those things and you support. Yeah. It's about giving. Thank you. Sarit your city, Africa's first ever light the world giving machines. This is happening there. All right. Dennis.
Yes. Now, Jimmy, when we talk about what has to do with where Kenya is 2024, how it has been politically, and you've mentioned Kenyans who died, the Gen Z pretty much, and you say Ruto must go, but we come from a point where Kenyans do not trust any politician right now to change this country. And as we finalize 2024 going to 2025, how do we look at the political space turning out to be in the future?
Thanks, Dennis. Just to revisit this Moses thing, it has really sumbued my head.
Good.
You know, Moses never traveled with thieves and abductors and murderers. So please let us get the right comparisons, Eric. That thing,
it's really bugging you.
It's really bugging me.
You know, Jimmy, the Gen Zs would tell you to sema ikutoke.
That thing.
But you know, Jim,
anyway,
I think your point is well made. I will not blame it. I was going to say, with that crowd, and it had all the Israelites were in Egypt.
There must have been thieves and vagabonds who aligned themselves.
No, those were not his thieves and his abductors. Right? They were not his murderers. They were not. They were not the people that went and killed 60 people. So please.
The point you make is a valid one.
Yeah.
The point you make is a valid one. You see,
Dennis, just remind me of your question. You know, there's a question you asked.
Yes. You know, it's like saying the devil and God. You know, this is a comparison. So,
yes.
So, Dennis, will you remind me the question?
Kenyans right now do not trust any politician to change this country, whichever way you want to look at it. And as we look at 2024, the way it has been and the push for change and all that, as we wrap it up in the future, how do we look at the political space and how will it play?
I agree in part that Kenyans do not trust politicians. That's why I'm very keen on stressing Fagia Water. But Kenyans are also yearning for leadership. And that leadership will and is emerging. The Joshuas are coming out. And the Joshuas will come out with action, not just mere talk. We are clear this country has a resolution called Ruto must go. The one resolution that is not coming out clearly is when. Because it's now 2 years, maybe 3 months or so since he got inaugurated. There's probably another 2 years, 10 months, 2 years, 9 months left to the next election. And the anxiety is for change before then. Because one thing he cannot change is the destiny of Kenyans. Every day we are going to wake up in the morning, it's just more and more pain, more and more dysfunctionality. If anybody has a modicum of hope, it will go away and dissipate. Right? So people want action. They want the now moment. What is going to close this now? What is going to bring about this change now? And I want to stress two things. Two very clear things. Action must happen and is going to happen. This pain cannot continue unabated for the next 3 years. And there's two causes of action. There's a third one too, but I won't mention it here today. Two causes of action that we must own. Because it's not enough to just say Ruto must go. We must make it happen. The first is that since we are in a revolutionary moment, we must make sure we take hold of this revolutionary moment with action. We are going to soon be proposing, and I'll state it here, what you call a tax revolution. Stop paying tax. Stop feeding this person you want him to go. Stop paying tax. Those revolutions have worked since time immemorial. Stop paying tax. Kata kodi. Axe the tax. Stop feeding this monster that we want to exit our lives. Tax revolutions led to the Great Depression of the US, forced a government to change. Tax revolutions have, even in countries in Africa, changed the course and brought multi-party democracy. In this country alone, we had the hut tax that the British brought. And can you imagine the hut tax? They said we had to pay 1 rupee for every hut we had. We didn't even have any rupees. We were doing barter trade. Okay? We were told we have to pay 1 rupee. So the whole basis was they wanted to get slave labor because they had nyakuad all the land. And we decided that enough was enough. That was one of the biggest catalysts to Mau Mau, if you want to know. Because from hut tax, we went to poll tax. I can give you a myriad of examples. Because what has happened is that there is a social contract between the people and the government. And the social fiscal contract between us and the government of William Samoei Ruto was broken long time ago. This money they are collecting from us is not benefiting us. Eric, I know you are a salaried person. You know, I was telling somebody this the other day, to their shock, and I can tell you they were very shocked. I listed for them the amount of money that they are paying to tax. And they said, oh, no, we pay roughly maybe 30%, 36%, I think they said. And I said, no. The actual taxation, right, for somebody who is earning a salary, starts here. Maximum pay-as-you-earn rate is 35%.
Yeah.
Then you have NSSF. These are now deductions. Let's call them deductions.
Yeah.
You have NSSF. You have affordable at 6%. You have affordable housing, another 1.5%. You have SHA, which is 2.7%. So the total direct taxes are 45.2%. Earnings subjected to indirect taxes. Okay? Then you have indirect taxes of about 24.66%, net effect, and with a net effect of another, if you add that, it's another 30%. So the cumulative, what is showing here as cumulative, indirect tax on consumables, VAT, excise on money transfers, import duties, railway levies, so on and so forth, literally shows that you are paying something like 69% of your earned revenue to taxation. 69% is going to tax. So you're left with 30%. I want to give you a comparative example to France. France, you pay 60%, both direct and indirect. What do you get back? You get infrastructure. You get security. You call the police, they are there within 5-10 minutes. You get free education, free hospital quality care. You're going for heart surgery, it's like none else in the world. You get unemployment insurance if you're out of a job. And everybody wants to retire early because you get a very handsome pension. You can live your life on the beach. All right? And in fact, one of the big political battles is what is the retirement age? Right? Because people want to retire at 55. All right? And I think it was pushed at one point to 65 and it has caused mayhem. Okay? Now, this is the comparative nature. What do you get here? Dilapidated infrastructure. All right? You have no system that works. You get policemen who shoot you with money that you're giving them bullets for. Okay? You get oppression. You get lies. What services are you getting back in return? You don't have free education anymore. You're begging and queuing for bursaries as though it's their money, not yours. What is this? You are paying odious debt. 70% of what we contribute is to criminality. Paying debt that you don't owe. Feeding some stomachs. Right? Continuously. Our slavery. What social contract do we have with the people, with the government? They broke it long time ago. But isitoshe. The amazing thing is the Supreme Court, in its wisdom, I say, to save William Samoei Ruto on the finance bill, gave us a very interesting conclusion. It says the revenue estimates which are where our taxes are anchored, are not supposed to be in the appropriation bill. I mean, it's laughable. Completely laughable. So they've said our taxes are not part of the budget. Right? If you read PFM and you read it in conjunction with the Constitution, 37.9 is so clear. The appropriation bill are the estimates, both revenue and expenditure. They have said revenue does not have to be there, only expenditure. So they have literally told us that tax is not part of the budget. So if tax is not a part of the budget, why are we paying tax? Why are we paying tax?
Is that the only interpretation one can have for what they...
Yes, there's nothing else to it. They were trying to interpret Article 221 in relation to the Appropriation Act. 221 says the revenue, the budget is going to be revenue and expenditure estimates together. Right? And that is carried on, right, in the PFM, what the Appropriation Act contains. And then they say here, because it has not been done, all this time, they found an excuse, contrary to their opinion in the year 2020, where they said it has to be together, that is the budget. They came up with an excuse to save William Ruto with his finance bill of 2023 rather, that revenue estimates do not have to be part of the appropriation bill. That is their ruling.
If I take your view, can I therefore then ask that is the Supreme Court not allowed to contradict itself?
No, the Supreme Court is supposed to interpret correctly the Constitution of Kenya. So they're not contradicting. They cannot contradict the Constitution.
Can we then say that when they interpreted in 2020 it was correct, and that in 2024 they were still correct?
So what influenced them?
I wonder, you tell me. What do you think influenced them?
I believe they were gotten to by the government of William Samoei Ruto. That is my belief.
And is there evidence?
Because how do you change? What they've actually done is ultra-biased to the Constitution of Kenya. Their ruling is null and void as we talk today. Right? And one day, they shall account for it. They are not people who are going to be there forever. One day, they shall account for it. And history will judge them very harshly, this Supreme Court. Very harshly. It is my prayer. This is not a Supreme Court we want to see adjudicating over any other election. They should be gone like yesterday. They do not represent us. This is why people get so annoyed about these systems. They no longer represent the people. They are going and interpreting for their own ends. So they have given us the out for not paying tax. They have showed us that tax is not part of revenue, is not part of budget. So why are we paying?
So on the one
why are we feeding even those delinquents in the Supreme Court? Why are we feeding them? We must deny them this income. Our time to act is now. We must do a tax revolt.
What, based on the Supreme Court decision?
No. I said first and foremost the social contract has already been broken. Number two, the Supreme Court has already given us an out.
But you disagree with it?
No, what do you mean I disagree with it?
I just said you disagree with it.
It's ultra-vice to the Constitution. But they've given us an out. In terms of trying to save William Ruto, they've told us, don't pay tax. So we will not pay tax. And I urge Kenyans not to pay tax. Don't feed these monsters. The power is in your pocket. The power to remove William Ruto is in your pocket. To remove these delinquencies is in your pocket. Stop paying tax. Get off the grid.
Does the Constitution give us this out?
It's out. No, yes. My friend, what do you mean the Constitution?
We mean the Constitution.
Once, but I'm saying the Supreme Court has already given us the out. What else do we want?
Is the Supreme Court interpretation
look at it this way.
superior to this to the Constitution?
No, it isn't. It isn't. It isn't. But the Supreme Court also anchors, the Constitution also anchors the social contract.
Yes, it does.
We're going to the news, Jimmy. Stay here. And then we'll hear also from the people in the next hour, right? Right. Let's hear from what they say. It's 9 a.m. It's time for the news. And Jimmy Wanjigi will stay here for a bit longer.
Good morning. This is the News Wire. Amla Ubaga. At least one person was killed and several were injured when a bus they were traveling in was involved in an accident along Lundiani Muhoroni Road, Kericho County. Police said the bus was coming from Nairobi heading to Kisumu when it was involved in an accident this morning in Jambo, Kenya. National Police Service spokesperson Dr. Resila Onyango said they had recorded at least one fatality involving a teenager. She said many passengers were injured in the accident and are in hospitals. Statistics show at least 4,282 people have been killed in accidents reported this year. A fourth-year student at Kenyatta University was found dead in a house after a suspected suicide incident in the Marel area, Bungoma County. Police said the body of the deceased, identified as Ian Ngahu, 24, was hanging in his parents' maize store. No suicide note was recovered and the motive is yet to be established. In another sad incident in Kitengela, Kajiado County, a 13-year-old boy died by suicide in his father's house. Police who visited the scene said the boy used a bedsheet to hang himself on a truss in the house and the motive of the incident was not immediately known.